Good morning. Welcome to our Friday class. We are going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully you can hear me. So you can be sitting in a chair. And if you're doing that, you're going to sit on the edge of the chair, hips a little forward, shoulders back. Or you could be sitting on the floor. All right, I'm going to come on down to the floor here. Either way, you're going to sit still on the edge of your blanket. Allow those hips to come forward, legs in a comfortable position. You're going to roll the shoulders up and away from the ears. And then down the back. And synchronize this with your breath. So inhale, shoulders up. Exhale, shoulders down the back. And again, inhale, shoulders up. You can kind of lean forward a little. Exhale, shoulders down the back, leaning back a little. And again, leaning forward now. Shoulders up. Exhale, down the back. One more here, leaning forward, shoulders up. And exhale, down the back. Keep that chest lifted. Drop the nose down toward the floor, eyes closed or soft. I'm just starting to tune in to the inner state of your being. How is the body? How is the mind today? Taking note of the subtle sensations in the body. Are there parts that are calling for your attention? Lengthen out and smooth out the breath. Just adding a little to each end, the end of the inhale and the end of the exhale. Let's take a couple more deep inhales here, really expanding the lungs. Feeling the back sides, front sides, sides of the body expand out with your inhale. And retain your inhale, holding your inhales, holding the breath in the body for a few seconds. Let's see if you can get a little more of your inhale. Can you add just a little bit more? And then release, allow the exhale to come. Exhaling completely, squeezing at the end of the exhale, maybe giving a second or two of no breath in the body. And then once more, inhaling nice and deeply. At the top of the inhale, hold the inhale in the body, retaining the breath for a couple of seconds. And then release. Allow the exhale to come completely and easily, moving into a natural breath. On your next inhale, we'll slowly open the eyes and come back into your space. And let's start with a side bend. We'll take the left hand down or onto your chair, right hand up and over, getting a nice side extension. Inhale, we'll come on up and over to the other side. You might bend that other elbow, your right elbow. Maybe drop a little bit lower. Inhale, come on, back up. You can take your hands back by the hips, draw the shoulders together and down, lift the chest up toward the ceiling. You might tilt the pelvic bone forward and come into a little bit of a back bend. You might even start to look back behind if it feels okay on your neck. On the inhale, we'll come on back up to center. Let's interlace the fingers. Press the hands forward, elbows straight. We'll take the arms up and over the head. Try and keep the jaw soft, neck soft. And we'll bring those hands back down. Change the interlace of the fingers and then forward and up. Maybe taking the hands back just a little bit further back from last time. And to bring the hands back down and release. Let's take a twist to the left. So twisting around the spine. If you're in a chair, you can be using the back of the chair here to assist. On the inhale, we'll come back through center and exhale over the other side. Inhale, we'll come on back to center. I'm going to take the soles of the feet together. Now, if you're on the chair, still bring your soles of the feet together on the floor as much as you're able to, and just allow your knees to open. And again, you're sitting on the edge of the chair. And so from here, I'm going to come into a long Baddha Konasana. So if you're on the floor, make sure your feet are more forward than you might normally do. A long Baddha Konasana, knees are wide. And then from here, we're going to come on forward, especially if you're on the floor. Try to keep a long spine and shoulders back, leading with your chest as you come forward. If your shoulders can stay back, then your hands can come forward here. Now, if you are in the chair, again, you're sitting on the edge of the chair. You're going to bring your feet together on the floor. You're going to lean forward here, but don't come so far forward that your chair tips. So just try to keep your shoulders back and leading with your chest coming forward, lengthening out your lower back. Whichever one you are here. On inhale, I'm going to come on up from there, draw the knees in. And I'm going to work our way up to standing. So you can just come on up any way that works. If you're on the floor, clear your mat. Standing in Tadasana, mountain pose. So feet are on the floor, feet are hip distance apart. Connecting the soles of the feet with the floor, shoulders back, chest lifted, nice and tall stance here. Your hands could be out. On an inhale, we'll take the arms up and look up to your hands. Look up, bringing the palms together. On an exhale, draw the hands down the center of the body. Full exhale. I'm going to follow with your gaze. Inhale, lift up, starting to come into a little bit of a back bend here. The top of the inhale, the hands come together. And exhaling, following with your gaze here. I'm going to take a little bit of a bow on your exhale. You can as low or as high as you want here. Inhale, arms up. Opening the chest, maybe leaning back a little. Top the inhale, hands together. Exhale and follow the hands coming into that bow if you like. Inhaling up. Really starting to open the chest. Maybe take the hands behind your head. Exhale. And folding forward if that feels okay. Strong in your legs. Supporting with the abdominals, particularly if you're coming very far here. Nice full deep breaths into the nose, out the nose. Couple more here. Next time that the palms come together, I'm just going to bring the hands to center of the chest. Pausing here. Feeling the breath in the body, feeling the feet on the floor. I'm going to release the left hand over the belly. Release your right hand out, palm up, elbow straight. I'm going to take that hand up and over your head, half crescent pose. So as you come into this half crescent, push into your right foot and reach, lengthen, extend. Drop that left shoulder down toward the floor. Inhale and come on back up. We're going to switch. Take your right hand over the belly, left hand out, palm up, elbow straight. And then lift that arm up and over the head, half crescent pose, the side shoulders drop down. This right shoulder drops down toward the floor. inhale, we'll come on back up to center. We'll bring the hands to the hips and hula hoop, circling here, the hips. We'll pause in that direction, hula hoop the other way. And come on back to center. We're going to have the right foot forward in a warrior one position. Now you could use the back of a chair if you're a little bit worried about balance. I'm just going to bring my camera down here so you can see my feet. Right foot forward, left foot back. Square the hips toward your right foot, toward what's in front. Outer hip of the right leg draws back toward what's behind. Front knee bends, back leg straight. Tailbone down. So your chair here or your support could be on the right side just in case you're feeling unstable. You can also take a wider stance between your feet if you're feeling unstable here. Virjandrasana 1, warrior 1. Shoulders back, arms up if you're feeling solid. Breathing here. Again, you could have one hand down. Connecting your feet with the floor, both legs toned, both legs strong. Breathing, warrior 1. Now from here, still holding warrior 1 in the legs, you're going to bring the hands to the shoulders and let's start circling backwards. So you're drawing circles with the elbows, trying to draw as big of a circle as your shoulders will allow today. Still strong in the legs, front knee still bent, breath flowing. And then release the hands. Going to bring the hands to your lower back. They're going to support here, taking that tailbone down more. Shoulders back, chest lifts. And you lift the chest straight up toward the ceiling, or you might start to come into a back bend. Keep your legs strong. Keep your feet connected with the floor. And again, if your balance is off, you could have one hand on a support here. Lifting the chest and maybe starting to look behind, all the way back behind you. On an inhale, and draw those abdominals in. Come on back up. One more warrior 1 here. Releasing the arms up and over the head. And release the hands. We'll step the feet together. I'm going to come to the other side. So again, if you want to have a chair next to you, you can. Just bring my camera down to the feet. You're going to take your left foot forward, right foot back. Square the hips toward what's in front. Bend your front knee right over your ankles. If you need more space, you can do that. Whichever one's your front one. Front knee over the ankle, tailbone down, lengthening your lower back. Both your back leg is straight, shoulders stacked on top of the hips. Arms up over your head for warrior one, or one hand on a support here. Breathing, connecting with your feet, feeling the tone in the legs, feeling the energy in the body. Then we're going to release the hands to the shoulders. Now this time we're going to draw circles the opposite direction. Circles with the elbows, nice big circles, still strong in the legs. Breath still flowing. And then we'll release the hands to the lower back, tailbone down, shoulders back. You could just lift the chest up toward the ceiling, or you could also come into a back bend, starting to look back behind. Either way, you're going to still be strong in the legs, lifting the chest up and over if you're coming backward. Shoulders away from the ears. Abdominals in. We'll come on back up. One more warrior one here. And release. And step your feet together. We're going to come back to the first side in a pyramid pose. Now for pyramid, you could use the seat of a chair. The idea is we're going to have the right foot forward. We're going to square the hips. Yeah, whatever your first side is. If that was right or if that was left. First side. And have that foot forward. You're going to be squaring the hips toward the front foot, coming down with straight legs. Your hands could be on the seat of a chair. You can also do this with a couple of blocks instead of the chair. So then you'll come down with your hands on the blocks. So if you haven't done that yet, go ahead and do that. Square your hips, legs are straight. Come on down into your pyramid pose. Now wherever you are here, try to not sink onto the hands. They're not just there to hold you up. Really connect with the legs, tone the muscles of the legs, connect with the feet on the floor. And it's the whole foot on the floor. So if you're rotating left or right, try to get your whole foot, both feet on the floor. And then lengthen through the spine. So tailbone the top of the head, abdominals drawing in. And you can even test your ability here by lifting your hands up off of your support. Notice how much you have to pull in to the legs, to your core, in order to be able to take your hands off of your support. And now from here, we're going to come into a revolved triangle pose. So if you're on a chair, you're going to take your opposite hand from the foot that's forward, your opposite hand, and move it a little toward center of the chair. If you're using a block, just scoot that block a little more toward your front foot. Now keeping your legs where they are, we're going to stack the shoulders. So you can take your opposite hand to your hip and start to rotate. Draw your top shoulder to stack on top of your bottom shoulder here. And then if you want, you could release that hand up toward the ceiling. You could also still keep it on the hip. You could even drop it around behind the back and start to draw the shoulder back a little more. So the upper body is twisting, but try to not swing the hips. Keep both legs straight. On inhale, I'm going to unwind back into our pyramid pose. I'm going to take a slight bend to the front knee and come on up. You can step the feet together. Let's take a little break here. Let's twist around the spine. And then coming back to center, same side. We're going to have that same foot down, not as close this time, not as far forward, just right down. We're going to start to take our weight onto that foot, same one that was in front. We're going to come on down now here. You can bring your hands to the seat of the chair or perhaps to blocks, and if they're not underneath your shoulders, you can move them there. So connect with your standing foot, that one, the same front foot that you were using before. Connect with that foot. You can even lift the toes here and see if you can really engage the foot muscles and then soften those toes down while still engaging the foot muscles. Tone the muscles of the foot, tone the muscles of the leg. Drawing up into your hips and then extending from tailbone to the top of the head. If you have all that, keep pushing down in the floor in your standing foot and kick your other foot back behind. Try to keep the leg straight. Try to keep your hips over your standing foot and try to keep the muscles toned in that standing leg. Both knees are straight. Abdominals are supporting. You're kicking through your heel on the lifted leg, toes toward the floor. A couple of breaths here. This is half warrior 3. And again, your hands could be on the seat of a chair if the blocks are too low. And then we'll bring your other foot back down to meet your first foot. Slight bend of the knees, abdominals in. Come on up to standing. Good work. Let's do pyramid pose on the other side. So your second side, that foot forward, the other foot back. I'm going to square the hips toward what's in front. Outer hip moving back behind of the leg that is in front. Come on down when you're ready. So again, you might have your hands on the seat of the chair. You might have your hands on a couple of blocks here. So making sure that your feet are action feet. So you're engaging the muscles of the feet. You're using the whole sole of the foot, toning the muscles of the legs, protecting your joints, particularly around your knee and your ankle. And also extending from the tailbone to the top of the head. Nice long posture here. Just breathing. And then we're going to come into our revolved triangle pose. So again, if your hands are on the chair, you're just going to bring that opposite hand from the foot that's in front, bring that a little bit closer to center, or you're taking a block a little bit closer to that front foot. Either way, your other hand can come to your hip. Keep your hips where they are, but draw your shoulders to stack on each other. So your chest is going to open. Breathe here. You might have the option, if you're lower here, you might lift that opposite hand up toward the ceiling. Or you could just keep the hand on your hip. You might even drop the hand behind you and start to draw the shoulder back a little more. Still strong in the legs, breathing. On an inhale, we'll unwind. We're going to come back into our pyramid pose. I'm just checking here. We didn't check the first time, so just checking here. Can you lift your hands off of your support? And if you can't, that's okay. But just trying to get a feel for what you have to do in your legs, in your core of your body, to be able to lift the hands off of whatever support you're using. From here, we're going to bend your front knee, hop your back foot in a little, come on up to standing, breathing, breathing. Let's do a little twist of the spine, release the back. All right, coming back to center, we're going to come into our half warrior three on this side. So we're going to use same foot that was forward, just not as forward. I'm going to keep my camera down low here. So you're going to root into that foot and come on down. Bring your hands down to the chair or maybe back down to your blocks. Root into that standing foot, toning the muscles of the foot and the leg. And then you're going to kick your other foot straight back behind. See if you can get it in line with your head. So you can also take a peek down the length of your body. See if you can see your toes. So I'm going to actively engage the foot and leg that is left on the floor. I'm going to breathe here. Again, you could be up on a chair. And then we'll bring that foot back down to meet your first foot. Slight bend in the knees. Come on up to standing. Good. We're going to work our way down to the floor now, all the way down. And if you have a blanket, you can fold your blanket up so there's an edge. And then you can sit on the edge of that blanket. If you have anything else on your mat, Santa clock, you can go ahead and clear that off. So we're going to start in a traditional seated forward bend. So it really means we're starting in staff pose. So you're going to sit on the edge of your blanket, staff pose. The legs are straight, toes are up, and the feet are about hip distance apart. Active feet, toes up toward the ceiling. So you'll notice in order to keep your toes up, there is an inner spiral that's happening right at the thighs. Because if you relax your feet, go ahead and relax your feet. Relax your feet. Most people, they flop out. Some people, they flop in. Most people, they flop out. And that's because we have too strong of an outer spiral in the legs. It's no big deal. It's just what happens. So we have to think about consciously drawing the inner thighs down toward the floor, rolling the toes up toward the ceiling, and then press through your heels. So it's like you're trying to stand. Press through your heels. And now from here, the pelvic bone will tip forward just a little bit so that you can get some support in your lower back. Lift up to the top of your head and draw your shoulders back. So imagine that you're balancing a book on the top of your head. We're going to bring the hands down by the hips. This is staff pose. So it's like you're standing on your feet, and it's like you're balancing a book here. I'm going to try and keep all of this in the upper body and the lower body. I'm going to draw the abdominals in and hinge at the hips. Just making this angle a little bit smaller. Keep your shoulders drawing back and down. And if your shoulders can behave and stay back and down, you can release your hands. Seated forward bend. Some of you may be able to reach your feet. Do that if you can. You can also just start to walk your hands along the outsides of your legs. Just seeing how far forward they want to go without rounding. So again, not rounding the back. Leading with the chest. Leading with strong legs. Breathing here. It appears they are doing some construction outside, so apologies for the background noise. Hopefully you can still hear me. On an inhale, we're going to come on back up. And let's take the legs and draw them in. Let's do a closer in Baddha Konasana. So soles the feet together, and remember earlier in class we had the feet forward. This time pull the feet in. And they want to be as close as is comfortable. So you don't want to be like so it's hurting, never ever hurting. The soles of the feet together and in, and your knees will do what they will. But again, try to tip that pelvic bone forward, or you think about taking your tailbone back behind. And you should feel when you do that, you should feel the chest naturally want to come forward more. And so if you are rounding here, if you just can't quite get that tailbone back, then do take your feet a little bit more forward so that you have some space there to be able to, it's more important to have the integrity of the spine than it is to have your feet in. All right, from here, if you want, if you still have more, you can come on forward, same rules, shoulders down the back, leading with the chest. On inhale, we'll come on up. You're going to keep the legs where they are. You're going to bring your left hand down onto the floor. Trying to keep this right hip down where it is. I'm going to start to drop low onto the left side. So you can take your right hand to your right hip, and that can help to root that down, draw the shoulder back, and starting to drop a little bit lower here. You're going to feel this in perhaps the hip, perhaps your thigh. Now, if you want a little more and you feel solid at the ability of keeping this hip down, you can release your hand and it might come up and over your head. But again, if you're lifting, root the hip down, Stay grounded here. And inhale, we're going to come on back up. I'm going to come to the other side. So starting with taking, let's see, your right hand onto the floor, your left hand onto your left hip, and really pushing that hip down. Draw your shoulder back here and start to drop your right shoulder down toward the floor. Now, if your hip can stay down on its own, you can release that hand up and over your head. On an inhale, we'll come on back up. I'm going to draw the knees together, and I'm going to walk the feet a little bit forward and slip off of your blanket so you're more on your mat. And have your feet about mat width apart, knees bent, and the hands back behind you on the floor. We're going to take this into a twist. I'm going to drop both knees to the left. So as you do that, that right knee is going to snuggle into that foot. And then from here, you're going to pick up your right hand, follow the same direction of the knees, wrapping all the way around, turning the chest toward the floor, and then you could bend your elbows and start to drop the nose down a little more toward the floor. On an inhale, I'm going to unwind here, and then lifting the knees, coming back to center. I'm going to drop over to the other side. So both knees to the right, the left knee snuggles into the foot, following the direction of your knees, wrapping around, turning the chest toward the floor, bending the elbows, and starting to drop your nose down. And the inhale will unwind, and coming back to center. Now from here, I'm going to try a little bit of table pose. So your arc here, the way this is going to work is you're going to bring, I'm going to sit up. So you can walk your feet forward as much as you can to sit up. You're going to turn your fingers towards your feet and then take your hands back behind. So fingertips, just the fingertips come to the floor. And the inside edges of the arms are rolling in. Elbow, armpit area coming back behind. And you can think about your chest popping through that space. Inner arms back, elbows straight, chest popping through. You might even feel like you're in a back bend. So keeping just the fingertips on the floor here and your elbows straight, now lean back and roll down your hands, bringing the heels of the hands onto the floor. Now, if this is too strong on your wrist, you can walk your hands just a little bit closer in. That might make it easier. Try to keep your elbows straight. Lift the chest through the space of your shoulders. Now activate your hands, spread your fingers, and push down into the floor. So really strong hands, strong arms. And just right here, we're going to take your chin forward, push your chin forward, and lift your head. Lift your chin up toward the ceiling, and if it feels okay, all the way back behind. Do you feel how the back of the neck can rest on the tops of your shoulders? Now, if this hurts, if this doesn't feel right, then just keep looking straight ahead, and then don't take the head back. But if this feels okay, this is when you get a feel for that. It's a place where your head could go. Now draw your chin back down. Keep your hands where they are, actively pushing into your hands. I'm going to walk your feet in just a little bit. Push down into your hands, push down into your feet, and try to lift your hips up. Now maybe you only get a little bit, and that's okay. If you can, bring your hips in line with your knees and your shoulders. And then the same thing here with your head. If that feels okay, you could let it rest back behind. Now at any point, if it's too strong, just reduce. You could have your chin looking forward, and you could have your hips sagging a little. Just finding your challenge place here, actively pushing into your hands and your feet. And then after a couple of breaths here, we'll bring the hips back down. Walk your feet forward, release your hands, and then roll your wrists. So rolling around the wrists. Good. From here, we're going to come all the way down onto your back, knees bent, feet on the floor. I'm just going to start by bringing your hands to your belly, breathing into your belly, feeling the rise and the fall of the belly. Now we'll release the hands down by the hips. And if you remember what we just did with the shoulders, you're going to draw the inner edges, armpit area down toward the floor and let your chest pop through. You might come into a little bit of a back bend here. Chest pops up, shoulders down toward the floor. And then keep those feet in close to the hips, outside edges parallel as much as you're able to sense here. Push into your feet now, lift your hips up toward the ceiling. Keep your knees about hip distance apart, bridge pose. You're going to push into your feet and tops of your shoulders actively pushing down into the floor. Feel that engagement here, shoulders down, feet down. And as you lift higher, take your tailbone toward your knees. It's going to lengthen out your lower back. And you're looking straight up toward the ceiling, trying to keep your neck soft. And then we'll lower the hips back down to the floor. I'm going to draw your knees in close to your chest. You can wrap your hands around shins or knees, starting to pull them closer. And then rock side to side, massaging the back. And then then coming back to center, we're going to take both hands around your left knee or shin, starting to pull that knee in close to the chest, and kick your right foot up toward the ceiling, pressing into your heel and your toes towards your nose, trying to lengthen out that leg. Keeping your left knee in close here and pressing through your right heel. We're going to try to take your right foot slowly. Don't go too quickly. Slowly lower the right foot down to the floor. And you're going to keep, once you touch the floor, keep the knee straight. Keep the active engagement in that leg. And then from here, you're going to hold your left bent knee with just the left hand. So just trying to pull in with just that side. Your right hand's going to slip down to your right hip. I'm going to push down on that hip, on your right hip, pushing down the floor. And meanwhile, drop your left knee out to the left side, maybe even coming all the way to the floor. Keep your right side down, right leg engaged, left knee starting to drop out to the left. On the inhale, we'll bring your left knee back. We're going to switch hold now, holding your left knee with your right hand, releasing the left hand. And now rolling onto your outer right hip on that extended leg side. We're going to drop your left knee all the way to the floor. The foot might come to the floor as well. Open your left shoulder back down toward the floor and opening your chest toward the ceiling. Well, my cat just knocked something down. Apologies. On inhale, we're going to roll on back to center. I'll have to check on him in a bit. All right, let's pick up both feet now. Actually, no, let's take the feet back down to the floor. Knees bent, feet on the floor. Make sure your spine is centered here. Then you'll pick up the right knee, right foot, draw your right knee in. We'll take both hands around that right shin or knee, starting to draw that knee in closer. You're going to pick up your left foot and extend it up toward the ceiling. You're going to press into your heel, toes toward your nose, making that leg super long. Keep pressing into your heel and slowly lower your leg, your foot, down toward the floor. And once you've made contact with the floor, keep the engagement of that left side. And then we'll hold the right knee with just the right hand. You're going to slip your left hand down to the left hip, pushing that hip down. You're going to drop your right knee out to the right side. So left side is still toned and engaged. Right side is opening. We'll bring the right knee back up. I'm going to switch left hand on the right knee, crossing all the way across the body, rolling onto your outer left hip, taking that right knee toward the floor, right foot toward the floor, and the right shoulder down toward the floor, opening your chest toward the ceiling. And inhale, I'm going to come on back to center, both feet on the floor, recenter the spine. And then after that, we'll extend the legs long, hands by your side for Shavasana. Make sure you're comfy, make sure you're warm. And of course, if you don't wish to lie on the floor, you can also do a seated meditation for the next few minutes. Allow your breath to deepen. And starting to sense through the body. Has anything changed in your being since the beginning of practice? And then slowly, in your way, working your way back up to a seated position. We'll bring the hands together at the heart. Thank you all for joining. Be sure to say hi to each other. Be sure to check in if you haven't already. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and thanks again for joining. Namaste.